Here are 4 quotes that will help you be positive and motivate you to go out there and do what you need to do to become the best version of yourself. And the first one is one of the ones that I am the most proud of. It is so amazing, I'm gonna call it one of the greatest quotes in the history of humanity. And it goes like this: if you lose everything, you simply gain a position where you can no longer lose. If you lose everything, you simply gain a position where you can no longer lose. Isn't that amazing? If you lose everything, you simply gain a position where you can no longer lose. All of a sudden, every action that you take can only lead to victory because you literally have nothing to lose anymore. So you can't lose. It's an impossibility. And so, everything that you do can only lead to you gaining victory, winning something, whatever it might be. And you know what? I got a great story about this. So, at one time, I was talking to 3 women. Yeah, I know, a bit of a player. I apologize. Well, actually I don't. But of course, with one of those women, things were going a lot better than with the other 2. A lot more chemistry and so on. And so Mans decided to sacrifice the 2 other women. Gone. And well, surprise, surprise, the one remaining broke my heart. Devastated. But you know what? That was the best thing that has ever happened to me. It was the best experience that I've ever witnessed in my life. That one experience made me grow more as a person than the 10 months previous to it. It was so amazing. I learned so much more about the world and about basically everything. And once again, I was in a position where I could no longer lose. There was no one to lose anymore. I had lost it all, right? And because I had nothing to lose anymore, I had gained a position where I could just focus on me. And so, of course, I was devastated, but what that meant was that I didn't have to text anyone, I didn't have to go date night or whatever. I could focus all my time on just me, work 12 hours a day, turn the phone off, throw it away, and just work on me. Go to the gym whenever I want, don't have to fucking deal with anyone else. Work on videos, study, do all the things that make me better. And all of a sudden I had gained a position where now I could win and improve myself and become a greater man a lot easier because there was less distractions. All of a sudden I couldn't lose anyone, therefore I didn't have to care about trying to keep others happy, and therefore I could do whatever I wanted and just become the best version of me, at least for the time being. Of course, I'm constantly trying to improve again and again, day after day. But what you learn from those devastating moments where you lose something important to you that you really care about is that in actuality, instead of it being a curse, it can be a blessing because you can gain a position where now you can improve yourself, you can focus on yourself. And the second quote I got for you today is that when you start to love the person that you could be so much that you're willing to do anything to make them a reality, that's when you change. So when you love the person you could be so much that you're willing to do anything to make them a reality, that's when you'll change. So there's a lot of people who advocate for things like self-love, and I'm not against that. And I'm definitely not gonna say that you should hate yourself or dislike yourself. But I think the best possible thing you can do is to love the person you can be. If you love the current you, that's amazing and fantastic. But many people look at themselves in the mirror and it's very hard to love yourself if you're extremely overweight and you know that you're not doing what you could be. You know that there's talents that you are not using, there's skills that you're not utilizing, there are things that you could do but you aren't doing because you're too afraid, or because you're too lazy, or whatever. Because you're too distracted by procrastination. And so sometimes it's very hard to love yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, I could be better. But the moment you start loving the person you could be, you dig deep within your heart, you start looking all the things that you could become. You start looking at the talents you have and you're like, you know what, I could be an amazing pianist. I mean, I personally cannot, but maybe you could be. Or maybe you could be an amazing footballer. Or maybe you could be an amazing salesman. Or maybe you could be an amazing, YouTuber. Whoever, whatever it is that you think you could be, whatever the talents you have that you're not using, when you start using them and you start realizing that, you know what, there is a version of you that you can become, that it exists in some universe out there that is better, the best version of you. And once you start loving them, you know what, I love that I could be an amazing looking, hard working man who's good to other people and who doesn't wrong them and so on. When you love that person so much that you're literally willing to sacrifice everything to make them a reality, that's when you change. That's when your life turns around. All of a sudden, you say no to the distractions and you do what is necessary to become that person. And one of the greatest ways to become that person is just to imagine, what would they do? What would the best version of me do in situation that I am? Maybe they would start looking for better jobs. Maybe they would start this business. Maybe they would post content on social media. Maybe they would go and apply to the gym. They would get a membership. And then you just start acting like it. You think to yourself, the best possible version of me that exists in some alternate universe, what would they do? And then you act exactly like that. And slowly but surely you will become that person. And once you become that person, boom, it's easy to love yourself. Because you have become the best version of you. You can no longer improve. Now, of course, are you ever gonna be perfect and reach that ideal? Probably not. But the closer you get to it, the easier and easier it will be for you to love yourself. And so, I'll remind you once more, love the person you could be so much that you're willing to do whatever to make them a reality. And that is when you will change as a person and your life will change along with it. The third quote I got for you. Life is a comedy, so just laugh. Like the story I told you before, being heartbroken. Oh no, devastated. But who cares? After enough time, all of these things are just funny stories. And if you're going through heartbreak right now, if you're going through a tough time right now, just know that within 6 months or a year, you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, that's a funny story. And it happens with everything. The most embarrassing moments that I've had in my life, I look back at them and I'm like, you know what, that was a funny story. I'm glad it happened. Literally. I've told this a few times before, but I'll tell you again. I made a pitch for a business. And the reaction to my pitch was basically, no one's interested. No one cares. There was a bit of laughing. And you know what? I felt a bit embarrassed. Oh no. But now that I look back on it, who cares? Here I am, still alive. The sun's shining. Everything's amazing. So life is a comedy. These ups and downs just come around and things happen. And you're just supposed to laugh and move on, because in the future you're gonna look back and you're gonna laugh at all the things that happened, because everything is just a funny story after you give it enough time. And so if you're gonna laugh in the future, why not laugh now? Why not smile now? And one of the greatest things is that every second of your life that you don't smile or laugh or enjoy was a second of your life that you didn't smile, laugh or enjoy. So try to enjoy every second, no matter how bad things happen. Just try to enjoy it, laugh at it. And you'll be a lot more happy with your life and a lot more satisfied with your life. And in the end, isn't that what matters? I mean, when you're gonna, be on your deathbed, like, are you gonna actually really care about many things that you care about right now? Like, probably not. The only things that you care about is that, did you live a life worth living? And a life that you are satisfied with. And the final quote to motivate you to go out there and to do what it needs to be done is, it's so easy to win because most people want to lose. Most people want to lose. They actively want to lose. And so as long as you want to win, you can win. And now you might be a bit confused. You might be like, how can you say that most people want to lose? I've never heard anyone say that they want to lose in life. They want to be a loser. You probably have never heard that. And I agree. But let's imagine a world where everyone is completely mute. They cannot speak a single word. Now, how can you judge if somebody wants to win or lose? It's by their actions. They cannot speak, so you can't ask them, do you want to win or lose? You can only judge what they want by their actions. And so when you start looking around the world, and you see that most people would rather eat junk food than go to the gym, most people would rather get blackout drunk than look for new opportunities, most people would rather, waste their time watching Netflix than learn a new skill. And then you start realizing, if you look at the actions of other people, most of them want to lose. They don't want to win. They don't act like winners. They don't act like someone who's hungry to go out there and do whatever it takes to win. And so as long as you want to win and you prove it with your actions and you do them, all of a sudden you become a winner. You beat 99% of people by just trying, because 99% of people don't even try. They literally do nothing. So as long as you even half the time do the correct choice, you know what? Maybe you don't have to go to the gym 5 times a week or something. But if you just go 2 times a week, you're already better than the average person who's overweight and never goes to the gym. If you just go and learn a bit about finances, even a tiny bit, and save a tiny bit of money, you're better off than the average person who's probably in debt. If you just have even a tiny goal that you're reaching towards and you're doing something to go towards it, once again, you're better off than the average person because they have no goals and they're not going anywhere with their life. And so, it's so easy to win because most people literally want to lose. And so as long as you want to win and you're willing to prove it by taking the correct actions, you are guaranteed to win given enough time. You have a bit of patience, you will win. And so, as always, go out there, chase your dreams, stay disciplined, and have a fantastic day.